Aloha from Park City, Utah. That's right, we got lots of clouds today in Park City. Lots of beautiful mountains too. Just give you a view out the window. It's kind of windy right now out there. Happy Father's Day, which was born as a national holiday on my birthday. I was always taught by my father that he always told me that I was born on Father's Day. It's kind of the other way around. But happened on my second birthday in 1972, June 18th. And in honor of my father, who was a real genius, and I've been standing on the shoulders of geniuses ever since I've been standing on his shoulders. But in honor of my father, I'm going to talk about some amazing God particles and master keys. Like love, I would consider to be a God particle, the master key. Everything hinges off of love. Everything good hinges off of love. We lead with our heart. Can't go wrong. So, also water is like a God particle. We are mostly water. The earth is mostly water. Most of the water inside of us is actually lymphatic fluid. We have more lymph than blood and more lymph vessels than blood vessels. And my father was a great champion of that. And he always said, if you can control water down to dry ground, if you can do that like Moses did, only do that inside of our own bodies, you can perform healing and regeneration miracles. He was probably the greatest champion of what's called terrain theory, because the biggest difference between the disease environment and the healthy environment is whether there's excess fluid and swelling, all inflammation. Every itis means inflammation. The word tumor means to swell. So without that, you can't have either one. It's the main aspects of the disease environment. The whole thing about the lymphatic vessels is they pull that inflammation out. So, yeah, major keys there. All the healing arts are tied into it. Energy, we said love is a major God particle. And energy is a master key. When you understand when that energy, the life process itself, my father discovered the engine of the cells that produces the electrical energy for the brain to think, the eyes to see, the heart to beat. It generates the power for cells to work. The sodium-potassium pump. He named it that and is the first person to call it the electric generator of the cells. And he wrote formulas with his physics background that still aren't taught today. And there are master keys all along the way of understanding what shuts it off and how to turn it back on. With his physics background, those formulas, and everything ties into those. And they're still not taught in any college, university, or medical school, yet they've never been challenged, since they were totally accepted by the top medical minds in the world who knew about it. The following year after he wrote them, he presented them to the top medical minds. So never challenged, still today, by any top medical minds. Everything keeps tying in. We keep learning more and more about it, and there's other master keys to talk about. So we know that there's whole branches of life, like all of the proteins that are survival proteins that are produced by our survival genes. Each gene produces a different protein, and some of those are called cytokines. Some of them are peptides, some of them are enzymes, all different proteins that do different things, all regulated by one master key zipper protein that I would call a God particle. Drugs target one gene at a time out of those 5,000 disease mechanism genes. And yet within our own body, there's another system that just tunes 100% perfectly without the long list of negative effects of any drug. That's something that I would call a God particle. Yeah. So if you're interested in the best Nrf2 activation, private message me. If you're interested in the best techniques that activate lymphatic vessels, private message me, direct message me. And you can make comments here. But main website is ZeroDisease.com. Also has all my contact details, all my social media there pretty much on the contact page. So lots of ways to contact me, even my cell phone. So another God particle is something that I would call the master key to, it's a master key to our hormones, the whole branch of life that I call our tree of life, the whole branch that produces the fruits we call hormones. And it is related to the glycogen release. You have to have slow twitch failure to get fast twitch activity. You also get nitric oxide. It's a combination of chemistry and that the brain is looking for to send the strong signal to have a hormone release for regeneration. When you have regular glycogen releases, it's the best way to produce more mitochondria in the body, which is where we produce our ATP, the main fuel for our cells. And glycogen that's made out of a ton of ATP is where superhuman strength comes from, where a grandmother can lift up a car with a baby under it. That's superhuman strength we're talking about, comes from glycogen. That's like a major God particle. When it's released, we have all kinds of instant superhuman power. Comes from that. And the keys of our hormones, the more we go into that superhuman type activity, the more we can produce our regeneration hormones. The main thing that Harvard says, the number one thing that's the most powerful regenerative substance that our cells can produce is HGH. That's like a God particle. It's part of the hormones that we release with muscle failure. The more we release that glycogen, the stronger release we get, the stronger muscle failure chemistry that the brain indicates, the more we produce our hormones. So that HGH is just one of the whole branch we produce. So nitric oxide release is part of that. But we're talking about master keys for whole branches to get all of our hormones being produced that not even bioidentical hormone replacement therapy can do. I have to give credit to another genius. Dr. Mike DeBoard is the one that I've learned about that. He's the one who really is a chiropractor who took a headfirst dive that studied more about that technology than anybody else I know. So he's a friend of mine and who I credit for knowing about that. There's another God particle called butyric acid. There's two main competing acids in our gut. And this is the master key for our gut health. Most of our immune system is in our gut. You know, the whole thing is lined with lymph nodes. Our lymph nodes are basically the garrisons, the forts for our white blood cells and lymphocytes, our immune system. Most of our immune functions happen in our gut. That's where most of it is. Well, that's where also the nutrients are purified, and it's all lymphatically done. The lymph dumps it in our blood from there. That's where our white blood cells and lymphocytes must have the friendly flora to be able to communicate, to be able to tell friend from foe. And the main key to our friendly flora is butyric acid. Now the harmful flora, the harmful microbes, they thrive with propionic acid. And those are the two competing acids, is propionic acid and butyric acid. So this is like, it's been called a God particle by another total genius in the scientific community. A man by the name of Al Zapp, who was the founder of Thorne Research, which is where most naturopaths go for their nutraceuticals. And he ran his own peer-reviewed journal for many years, Alternative Medicine Review. When he sold his company, he had to shut it down because that was what was paying for it. Then he made another major breakthrough. He figured out how to mask the taste and smell of butyric acid. And so there's a product called Link, L-I-N-Q, with his, what he calls the Tesseract effect. He masks the taste and smell of butyric acid, which is normally responsible for the taste and smell of bile, of basically vomit. So if you can totally mask that, now we have a source that people are willing to consume because it's palatable. There's no taste and smell of the butyric acid. Anyway, some master keys for you to contemplate. There's more to share. And if you like this video, please share it. If you'd like to have me do a free introduction or a paid introduction, this is nice. Direct message me. And from now, and again, in honor of my father and all the dads out there, happy Father's Day.